Metal is screaming the battle cry, so I want you to crank that volume up until the neighbors are listening in. Because this is episode 4 of Howling AM. In the past, we have exposed the antisocial mind virus. We've even shined light on the surveillance state that protects it. We've gone so far as to reveal the ultimate psyop for global control. Tonight, we'll be ripping the mask off of their most effective weapon in the war on the West: immigration. Replacement, servitude, genocide. Millions of so-called asylum seekers pouring into nations all across the Western world. Foreigners who openly hate the West as they siphon resources like a mosquito or a tick, draining the blood of the host until there is nothing left, at which point the parasite then jumps to the next victim. This isn't immigration. This is conquest by demographic replacement, made possible by the mind virus that is causing a brain rot of those affected, a rot that is now spreading to the body of Western nations, a rot that is infecting all of those it comes into contact with. The great replacement starts with birth rates. Native birth rates across Europe, Canada, and the United States have collapsed well below the 2.1 replacement level needed for growth. The average household is simply not having kids. The people who do have kids are only having 1 or 2. Why is this? Surely it has nothing to do with the globalists who spent the past few decades prior telling everyone to stop having babies, that there were too many people, that the climate was going to boil us all alive if we maintained our populations, that you wouldn't be able to afford a professional career or a house if you had children, with some controlled media outlets going so far as to say that the nuclear family was a bad thing, extremists even, that you were a Nazi if you wanted to have a family. I'm not lying to you when I say that Black Lives Matters provided coloring books to schools, coloring books that taught young children not only communism, not only transgenderism, and not only to ignore their parents, but also such ideas like the nuclear family is a racist concept meant to hold back black people. Imagine that. Teaching young children that having a mom and a pop and siblings living under one roof is racist. That your parents are oppressors. That you can switch your gender whenever you feel like it. The indoctrination of self-loathing, isolation, and suicidal ideologies begins at a young age for many children in public schools. Schools also teach young children to loathe their histories, to loathe their Western models, to loathe the country that they were born in. Some schools are already teaching Sharia law to little kids while banning Bibles. Classroom shelves are being stocked with the Quran, and lunches are being made halal certified. Children are being told to hate themselves, and if they don't become gay, they are trained on how to be obedient subjects under Islam. This is, of course, assuming they aren't killed or abducted first. But it isn't so surprising that modern Western people are so hesitant to have children, with those affected by the mind virus openly hating the people who are making normal Christian families. Between the doomer propaganda campaigns, the assaults on traditional relationships and gender roles, and the demoralizing and self-hating induced by the liberal mind virus, our native populations have collapsed. Because so many listened, so many were indoctrinated, and so many lost hope. Now the globalists are offering a solution to the problem that they induced. Accept infinite migration. without any other option being offered. Gone are the days of, there's already too many people, reduce your populations. Instead, the motto now appears to be, accept the replacement of your culture. And if you have a problem with it, you're a racist who needs to be cast out of society or even locked up. If the ideas of tolerance, amnesty, and diversity were the Trojan horse of suicidal empathy, these immigrants are the swarm that is being poured from the horse. Now that the globalists have gotten their weapons through the gates of Western nations. Now that the load-bearing traditions that were long upheld by Western society have been destabilized, and in some cases destroyed, these nations no longer have any foundation to stand on, meaning that the depths that they can fall to are potentially limitless. Let me tell you the numbers. Let's start with some facts regarding the shifting demographics that are affecting native populations in the West. In the UK, an island nation of less than 70 million people, close to 20% of the population is foreign-born. Over 13 million immigrants are estimated to be living there. The real numbers are certainly higher, as these stats are based on census participation. And of course, the government includes the children of these immigrants as natives. In Canada, the overall population grew from less than 20 million in 1961 to roughly 40 million as of this year. More than 25% of that 40 million are immigrants. Canada also counts the children of these immigrants as natives, so multi-generational Canadians make up a significantly lower share of their country's demographic than 75%. As with the UK, in the 2020s, net yearly immigration was at or above 1 million a year. Germany is a similar story, with 20% of the total population being of foreign origin as of 2026. The native population has not been able to attain replacement birth rates since the 70s, having had more deaths than births since 1972. Of course, Germany has also been a primary target of native demoralization for a very long time. The regular citizens of these countries are very much against the flood of immigration. This does not matter to their leadership. In the United States, over 10 million illegal crossings have occurred since 2021 alone. Of the estimated 51 million foreigners that are in America, at least 13 million are known to be here illegally. Of course, the children are counted as citizens if they are able to be born on American soil, even if both of the parents are here illegally. There is an entire industry known as birth tourism that is heavily propped up by the Chinese, where they travel to America to have children and then return back to China, ensuring that their children will have birthright citizenship in America while maintaining allegiance to China. These satellite babies are a tool of the CCP to undermine America's future, as if present-day Chinese nationalists aren't already doing a good job of undermining American politics and companies. Other groups are starting to utilize this loophole. America was a 90% white nation in the 1950s, a number that dropped to 70% by the year 2000. In 2024, America is 56% white. It is projected that whites will no longer be a majority in America by the year 2044, if not sooner. Based on current trends, it could be sooner. This is the case in every white nation that has allowed the globalist flow of infinite immigrants. The white race is already a minority on the world stage, but the powers that hide in the shadows and the people of non-white countries would rather whiteness go extinct because they see white people as a threat to the peasant kingdom that is being built. There is nothing natural about the shifting demographics in Western countries. This is all engineered. It is a deliberate attack on the cultures that have built the greatest societies and birthed the greatest people throughout the world. It is an attack on the cultures that would otherwise refuse to participate in global communism, or more specifically, global Bolshevism. It is an attempt to demoralize the greatest engineers, the greatest leaders, and the greatest armies the world has ever seen. Any attempt at fully enacting the global plantation will always be resisted so long as white people are alive. If I haven't lost you yet, then I'm sure you're wondering, what difference does someone's country of origin make in this? Why should it matter if we fill a previously homogeneous society with millions of people from a different culture? If we demoralize that society for decades, tell that society to stop making babies, and then import millions of people who have no ties to the land and no interest in assimilation, what could go wrong? I'll tell you what can go wrong. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you what is happening right now. When a society is made up of people who have known each other for generations, people who share a pride in the history of their nation, that society usually becomes a high-trust paradise. But when that multi-generational society is replaced by a low-trust society made up of cultural aliens, so is peace replaced with violence. The violence that comes is horrifying. When leadership allows for the importing of legions of military-aged men who refuse to integrate, let alone learn the language of the country they occupy, while harboring deep blood loyalties to the nation they come from, who openly hate their host nation while taking it for everything it has, what else could be expected other than a level of violence that is often reserved for wars and ancient barbaric history? In the UK, Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs have systematically raped and trafficked an estimated 19,000 to 100,000 young white girls over decades, while politicians not just looked the other way, but actively oppressed anyone who dared call it out, while doing absolutely nothing to punish the rapists themselves for fear of being called racist, for fear of losing a political popularity contest. When the systematic rape of young white girls finally came to light, British politicians rushed to burn the court records and arrest anyone who spoke out, rather than engage with the needs of the people. Criminals were allowed to walk free, and the 10-year-old girls who were clearly raped, often dozens of times, were arrested, instead of the Pakistani men that these girls were found with. Those men were left unquestioned and free to do it again. White men who defend themselves from Muslim attackers are arrested, and the violent Muslims are allowed to walk free, while these young white men are thrown in jail if they don't bleed out on the sidewalk. Native people are labeled as racist and thrown in jail if they point out all the obvious problems, while the foreign invaders are allowed to continue their invasion, empowered by the knowledge that they can commit heinous crimes and the British police will do nothing to stop it. Why should the opinions of native people who already hate their leadership matter when a politician can just import a new voting bloc? Who will surely be loyal to their importers after receiving housing and money, services paid for by the native taxpayer? It is already becoming a crime to promote Christianity in London for fear of offending the Muslims, while calls to prayer ring out through the streets. In Sweden, rape rates have skyrocketed by over 1,400% since mass migration began. In Germany, after Merkel's migrant wave, violent crime and sexual assaults surged dramatically. Everywhere that these waves of foreign invaders go, assaults and sexual abuse goes up, and native populations begin to live in fear. In France, no-go zones have become war zones. All of these countries have no-go zones now. Areas that have become so dominated by foreigners that it is no longer safe for natives to pass through. Instead of doing something about it, the politicians demonize anyone who dares to beg for an end to the violence. They arrest those who demand an end to the invasion. The globalist cabal crushes anyone who dares to resist the overhauling of the West into a third world slave plantation. In America, illegal migrants have been linked to thousands of murders, rapes, and drug-related deaths, killing over 100,000 Americans annually. They are given leniency in the courts if they ever even see the courts. Decent American people and families are forced to live in fear in our major cities. Our suburban areas, stores, public transportation, public schools, and even our homes have become places of potential threat. Public safety is being lost, while the criminals are set free, and the regular people who have lived here for generations are forced to accept it. This isn't enrichment. This is conquest by crime and chaos. And what do the liberals do when the bodies pile up? They defend it. They make excuses. They blame the victims. They scream racism at anyone who dares point out the obvious connection between mass migration and skyrocketing crime. When native citizens protest the invasion of their neighborhoods, the globalists call the speech far right. The UK makes over 12,000 arrests per year due to speech-related crime. Thousands go to jail. Connecting the dots and pointing out the obvious as a crime and a punishment. You get labeled as an extremist and you lose your job, your home, you lose your family, you lose your life. Liberal judges and political bad actors will willfully interfere with every attempt to stop the violent invasion of the West. They defend the invaders. They attack the natives and demand even more migration. This is not compassion. This is the suicide of a nation. This is treason wrapped in virtue signaling. The liberal mind virus has taken root. It spreads across the surface and permeates deep. The infection doesn't just deliver blood, but it also cripples the economy of the host nation. Excessive social services, taxpayer-funded spending sprees, overpopulation, and hyperinflation, while jobs are lost and homes are bought up. Corporations are deliberately flooding every industry with cheap foreign labor to destroy the value of your work, to make another dollar while you lose your job. Every job market these people come into contact with sees a reduction in wages and conditions, while quality drops and consumer costs shoot up. Truck drivers, construction workers, factory workers, and meat packagers are all being laid off, along with doctors and tech workers being shown the exit as well. Massive layoffs at massive companies while the vacant roles then get filled by unqualified imports. Uber, DoorDash, and other transportation companies are complicit in allowing their apps to be overrun by non-English speaking contractors who then buy up the used car market so that they can rent vehicles to each other for the sole purpose of Ubering your $30 McDonald's. The cost of everything shoots up because of the new class of taxpayer-funded citizens who have your money to spend on your homes and your groceries. The native populations get left to go hungry and homeless, while the government funds the replacement with stolen money. Indians and Pakistani workers are often brought in because they score lower on average IQ tests, demand far less in wages and benefits, and rarely push back against poor working conditions. They become the perfect compliant underclass. And I'll tell you, This isn't about merit. It is about creating a cheaper, more docile workforce that will not challenge corporate power. And if they do, well, they can always go back home. The result is a two-tiered system: displaced natives and an imported serf class that keeps labor costs low and profits high. African immigrants are not only bringing disproportionate levels of violence, but also disproportionate levels of long-term welfare dependency. Immigrants from these countries are addicted to social service programs, with more than half of these households being reliant on taxpayer dollars for food, housing, and bill payments, and the liberals defend this behavior. They say that they deserve our homes and the opportunities we created for our society at the expense of the taxpayer and the native citizen. They claim have a heart while using weaponized emotional buzzwords and tantrums to resist any attempt at confronting the real problems, often resorting to violence to stop anyone who dares to call out the fraud and stand up to the invasion. Muslim immigrants have mastered the art of hijacking liberal narratives for their own ends. They use progressive language about diversity, tolerance, and oppression to demand special accommodations like prayer rooms, halal food, Sharia courts, and segregated spaces, while simultaneously pushing cultural replacement and the Islamification of the West. They exploit liberal guilt to expand their influence, create parallel societies, and gradually impose their values on the host population. They exploit liberal guilt to expand their influence, create parallel societies, and gradually impose their values on the host population. Liberals defend them fiercely, even when grooming gangs, honor violence, and demands for Sharia become obvious. The left thinks that they're using Muslims as a voting bloc. In reality, the Muslims are using the left to conquer territory and reshape Western culture in their image. The result of this demographic genocide? Native unemployment rises. Cost of living skyrockets. Housing is filled up while prices go up. Homeless populations rise. High trust societies collapse into low trust chaos. Western industries are deliberately degraded. Safety standards drop while violent crime shoots up. Fraud goes up. Deadly automobile accidents go up. Human trafficking goes up. Native unemployment goes up. Literacy rates and academic test scores plummet. Competency is lost, and the average citizen is told to celebrate their own replacement. Christianity becomes outlawed while Islam is taught in school. White children are indoctrinated with white guilt and transgender theory, while black and brown babies are raised to hate white skin. Rampant fraud is allowed to go unchecked, bankrupting the host nation, while hundreds of billions of dollars are also sent back to countries of origin through legal remittances. The West is being robbed blind. It is cultural suicide in favor of the creation of a globalized plantation nation. The world's leaders are bought out, and the public is brainwashed by psychotic globalists who hide in the shadows. There will never be another America or Europe if the globalists get their way. The greatest nations on earth will be turned into retail space and landfills, serviced by a permanent slave class. Natives will be replaced and treated as inconveniences. Once the society falls apart, it will be abandoned by the globalist in favor of new capital to seize control of. This has all been done before, many times. Before Rhodesia became Zimbabwe, it was the breadbasket of Africa, prosperous, productive, with functioning infrastructure. After the white farmers were driven out through violence and government seizure, agricultural production collapsed. Hyperinflation hit 89.76 trillion%. The country went from food exporter to mass starvation. Today it is a bankrupt, corrupt hellhole. In South Africa, the post-apartheid Rainbow Nation experiment has seen farm murders targeting white farmers skyrocket. The once nuclear-armed nation now suffers rolling blackouts, record unemployment, and one of the highest murder rates in the world. The pattern is consistent. Remove the group that built and maintained high-functioning systems, and the systems collapse. Lebanon was once known as the Paris of the Middle East, prosperous Christian majority with a thriving economy. After massive Muslim immigration and demographic shifts, it descended into civil war and has never recovered. The route went from cosmopolitan jewel to war-torn ruin. In multiple European cities and no-go zones today, we are watching the same process in real time. Skyrocketing crime, parallel societies, welfare strain, while native populations are retreating or being replaced, if not killed or raped. The pattern is brutal but consistent. High trust, high IQ, highly productive populations built these societies, and when they are diluted or driven out by lower trust, lower productivity groups with incompatible values, the result is almost always decline, violence, and eventual collapse into third world conditions. Let's talk about how the British Empire perfected the use of South Asian Indians as reliable serf class, and how that same strategy is still being used today. After slavery was officially abolished, the British didn't stop needing cheap, compliant labor. Where to find the ideal slave? Who will never revolt? They turned to India. Millions of Indians were shipped across the world under the indentured labor system to work on plantations in the Caribbean, Fiji, East Africa, Malaysia, South Africa, and so on. The British used them as the perfect middle-tier serf class, productive enough to generate profit, docile enough not to cause major trouble, and foreign enough that they wouldn't integrate with the locals. Look at what happened. In Fiji, Indians were brought in as plantation workers and now outnumber the native Fijians in their own society. In Mauritius and Guyana, Indian descendants became the major population. In South Africa, Trinidad, local permanent Indian communities were planted that still exist today. The British left behind demographic time bombs everywhere they went, permanent scars of replacement that changed those nations forever. This wasn't some accident of history. This was a deliberate imperial strategy. Import a controllable underclass to extract wealth while weakening the native population's control over their own land. The globalists learned from the British Empire and they scaled it up. They no longer care about the citizens whose ancestors spent generations building these nations. Instead, they import the cheapest possible replacements. People from failed, low-trust societies who will work for scraps and stay dependent on the state. They don't see citizens anymore. They see livestock. They don't see nations anymore. They see economic zones. They don't see culture. They see a history to rewrite. They are perfectly happy to watch the people who build everything get pushed aside, replaced, and eventually bred out of existence, as long as the profits keep flowing and the control remains absolute. This is the next stage of the antisocial mind virus. This is how the globalists use immigration as a weapon. First they isolate you, then they surveil you, then they use fear and broken systems to control you, and once you finally bow down, they replace you. They break your family, they shame your history, they lower your birth rates, flood your country with people who don't share your values, and then act shocked when social cohesion disappears, while using the moment as an excuse to impose more restrictions on the natives. They don't want a strong, prosperous, high-trust civilization anymore. They want a fractured, low-trust society that is easier to rule. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can start with mass deportation. Every illegal immigrant, starting with criminals and welfare users. No more catch and release. No more sanctuary cities. No more no-go zones. End birthright citizenship for children of illegal invaders. Anchor babies are a loophole, not a right. End chain migration and family reunification scams that import entire villages. No more neighborhoods being taken over. Implement a merit-based immigration system. Skills, English fluency, cultural compatibility, and loyalty to the West only. No more importing low-skill, high-welfare populations. Cut all welfare, housing, and benefits for non-citizens. American resources for American citizens first. Until we have no more homeless, we do not need more people. Deport foreign criminals immediately and ban them for life. Ban dual citizenship for government officials and anyone in sensitive positions. Require full cultural assimilation. Learn the language, adopt the values, or get out. Prioritize your own people the way Japan, Israel, China, and every other sane nation does without apology. Stop dumping billions of taxpayer dollars on foreigners while your own veterans sleep on the streets and your own families struggle to survive. Demand leaders who put you first, not the replacement agenda. Demand judges that will protect the public. Demand employers that put native populations first. And demand schools that teach pride in their country's heritage and culture instead of spreading globalist revisionism and Marxist brain rot. Teach your friends and family that it is okay to be proud. Do not give any more ground to the foreign invasion, and as a matter of fact, it is time to start taking the West back. The metal is screaming the battle cry. This is Howling AM. I'm Michael Reddick. And I tell you, reject replacement, reject servitude, reject the mind virus, and choose to defend the West with everything that you have. The fight is here. The time is now. Become the enemy of the enemy.